Hello everyone, my name is Manolis Spinorourakis, the founder and producer of RealityCrowdTV, and welcome to RealityCrowdTV episode 25, Crowdfunding on HeadFunder and the iPatch case. We have a wonderful show for everyone today, and we're excited to have our wonderful guests. But before I introduce everyone, I'd like to actually go over a few ground rules for every show that we have. If you have followed the circle of RealityCrowdTV on Google+, you will be able to ask any questions that you might have on our question and answer application. Additionally, all the information for our guests, including the live link to the iPatch case crowdfunding campaign and the link to headfunder.com, are all available within the event page or in the YouTube copy and description. So with that said, I'd like to actually introduce our great guest this evening. First, I will introduce our featured campaigner, who is the inventor of the iPatch case, Michael Sorrentino. And Michael, please introduce yourself.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm the inventor of the iPatch case, but I'm also a journalist of 10 years. I've worked in many different companies and many different news organizations and traveled all around the world and covered some of the largest stories out there. And we can get into this later, but it has inspired me to become an inventor. And so here I am working with HeadFunder to launch the best product ever in the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And your iPatch case, we're definitely going to play the video in a short moment so the audience can know exactly what you've invented. But thank you again for joining us. And we also have our guests, a recurring guest. We had him on the show a few months back. We had Chris on the show last weekend. And now we have Chris Labonte and Nolan Thompson, the co-founders of HeadFunder.com. And gentlemen, a pleasure to have you guys on as always.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely, and please feel free. Just give yourselves a brief introduction.
All right, I'm Chris. I'm the co-founder of HeadFunder. We started HeadFunder back in August. We launched April 30th. I like to code, crowdfund, make new friends, and do fun stuff. And this is Nolan.
I'm Nolan, the co-founder of HeadFunder, and I just like to sleep on Chris's couch.
Very nice. So you have a very important role, Nolan.
I'm just here for the support.
Perfect. Well, I mean, hey, you guys are making some waves with HeadFunder.com. Every week I'm watching you guys grow your following, keep going high on those search results. So you guys are doing big things. So thanks again for joining us as always. So pleasure. And so we'll actually begin with showing the video of the iPatch case, which is currently being crowdfunded on headfunder.com. And that way the audience and everyone on board can actually see exactly what the iPatch case is. So I will share my screen for a moment, and we will go to the video. Does everybody see the video on my screen?
Yep.
All right. Without further ado, I will play it.
The iPatch case is the world's first and only smartphone case that integrates a movable camera cover. I've been working in news for a greater part of a decade and have covered some of the world's biggest stories in that time. One of the most alarming stories that I covered was happening right here at home. A story about a school in Pennsylvania who gave laptops to the kids, and some creepy IT guy hacked into their webcams while the children were at home and in their bedroom. My sister, my brother, they all have kids, and they worry about giving smartphones to my nieces and nephews when they turn 14, 15 years old. For about $50, anyone can buy software that can hack into a laptop or your cell phone and access the camera. So if you throw away just the security concerns alone, and think about the fact that the camera that you carry around all day, every day, doesn't have a lens cap. It's exposed to the elements. So one night I couldn't sleep, and I was listening to the radio, and the DJ was talking about how he puts tape over the camera on the front of his iPad. And it made me think, why isn't there a case that just integrates this simple idea? All I could find were people in discussion groups and forums asking for cases with this functionality. The iPatch case is a simple solution to a complex problem. Flip of the switch, and you cover the front and rear cameras completely. The case is really simple. It comes in three parts. It's basically a front, a back, and a switch, as you can see here. The switch just slides right over the top, and once you close the case, it snaps together very nicely. This little opening is for these sensors on the phone, so that when you hold it up to your face, the phone keeps all of its functionality intact, but blocks the camera. It's a simple on-off. You can cover the camera or not. We've come a really long way in engineering the iPatch. We've gone from a simple drawing on paper to a 3D printed prototype. It's taken us several iterations. So if you think that the iPatch case is a good idea, but you don't even have an iPhone, I encourage you to leave us your comments below, kick in a buck or two, share it with your friends, help spread the word. Because if we have a successful campaign, we can bring this to all phones and tablets on the market. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. That is a great video, Michael. That's a great idea. I mean, how did you even think? How did you think of this? How did that idea for that invention come into fruition?
Ultimately, first of all, it had been in my head for a long time. Right over my laptop camera, I have a piece of electrical tape. And it's not because I'm a crazy person that wears like a tinfoil hat. Like, I'm not a crazy, paranoid, the government spying on me person. I just know enough to know that it's possible for somebody to access it. And also, like, I remember being in high school and a friend of mine hacked into, this was 15 to 20 years ago, my friend of mine hacked into another friend's computer and just like messed with them by opening the CD tray, like, and they would close it and they'd open it again, and that was just before all of this stuff. So people might not be malicious, but they can access it. And you know what? Like, I'm just not cool with that. So I always thought of a way to cover the camera would be something that I would want, a feature in a laptop or a camera and phone. I mean, so it always been in the back of my mind. And then, sure enough, I'm listening to Howard Stern one day at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I can't sleep. This is probably back in like March or something, and he was talking about how he puts tape over the iPad camera, and I thought, well, there has to be a case by now that does that. And for what started off as a simple Google search turned into a patent search, and then a meeting, you know, with an attorney, and no one's got it like we have it. And we found a way to do it and do it right. People have tried it, but no one has made it like we have.
Wow. So you actually have created the case that you got the idea from just by listening to Howard Stern. I got
the idea from myself, but I'll give Howard the credit for the inspiration.
Great. Well, speaking of that, weren't you on his show today as well? Weren't you on a broadcast of his today?
That's right. I was lucky enough that we got their attention, and they reached out, and we were featured on the Howard 100 News today, which was awesome, and we were interviewed by a guy named Shul Yeagar, and it was really quick, but it just goes to show that they think it's a good idea. Maybe when he comes back from vacation, he'll think it's a great idea, but most importantly, if the crowd thinks it's a good idea, that's what we want.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the crowd is the crowd has all the power, and the balance of power is shifting in a big way, and that's why what's going on right now with your project, and then especially at HeadFunder, who is being the intermediary, the way that this actually occurs. Chris and Nolan, how did you meet Michael? How did you hear about him, and how did you guys meet Michael?
Well, one day. We followed Michael on Twitter. I think he had like 15 Twitter followers at the time, so he was great. We followed the iPatch. He was very hidden off Twitter, so he's like, "How do you guys find me?" I forget how we found him, but he put his phone number, and I decided to give him a call. And then we talked. We really clicked. I told him that I would personally help him and do my best to work with him. And it kind of just, we hit it off from there, and we worked on it for about a few weeks, a little over a month, like 5-6 weeks before the campaign went live, just strategizing, trying to build the social following, his website, stuff like that. But we found each other on Twitter, so that's how it happened.
Wow. So see, you guys are using social media in the right way. You're actually being social with it. instead of just spamming people. You know what I mean? So that's great. And Michael, so were you impressed by the way that you guys met? I mean, what made you decide to go with HeadFunder over other platforms? And actually, I believe you've actually tried other platforms before as well.
Yeah, this is my third crowdfunding campaign. My first two were on a website that begins with K, and they were successful. And I appreciate all the tools that those websites provided. But what came with HeadFunder was more than a crowdfunding website. What came with HeadFunder was Chris and Nolan. And the drive, passion, but most importantly, the heart that they bring to crowdfunding is unlike any I've ever seen. I always saw crowdfunding as a tool. And what they showed me is that it's a means to changing things, to changing the course of business and how startups are created and how ideas are brought public and to the people and how they can interact. So HeadFunder is amazing in the pricing structure, in the way that they're going to give back to important campaigns and the social aspects to it. But Chris and Nolan, I would never have their support on any other website.
Wow. Can I give you guys some time to hug right now? No. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Michael. Chris and Nolan are just great guys. They're passionate. They work hard every day, and that's the differentiator. I mean, you can go to a Kickstarter and they won't ever answer your call. They'll barely answer an email. It's impossible to get any kind of customer services from the platform that shall not be named. But you know, it's one of those places where, you know, the differentiator with HeadFunder is the fact that there is that service. So kudos to you guys. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell us more about yourself, Michael. So from a perspective of developing the first prototype, what kind of effort went into actually developing the case in the first place? So you obviously saw the need in the marketplace, but what was your first step? What did you do first to kind of, you know, did you start with a business plan? Did you do some sort of intellectual property, or did you go right in at it and create a prototype? How'd you approach this?
So my first step was to literally draw it on a notebook pad. Like just kind of draw my idea out, so that I didn't forget it when I woke up in the morning. But then I couldn't fall back asleep, so I got out my laptop and I did a Google patent search, and I couldn't find anything that was what I was thinking of. And then I called a lawyer and everything, and I really moved fast and was patent pending by the end of the week. And you know, we still have a long way to go till we have a full patent, but at least we're protected at this point. But it really started with a piece of paper, and a friend of a friend, my best friend Jimmy, is an engineer. He introduced me to a guy he works with who's an industrial designer. He put together the original CAD design of the iPatch case, and the first time seeing it on a computer is just like amazing, seeing a 3D model. And then I live in Manhattan, and there's a MakerBot store in Manhattan. And so I took it to the MakerBot store, and they were just great, the people that were there, because they actually allow you to print out stuff for a fee, but they'll let you print out on a MakerBot instead of having to buy one. But the amazing thing is they're so used to people printing out like 3D images of their face or like, you know, an elephant or something silly. They were so pumped to actually produce a product, a prototype there, and so they gave me a lot of support, and they helped me make that first prototype. And I used it, and it was rough and rigid. You actually see it in the video. It's this gray and red, ugly thing, but it works. And then that's actually the second one. And they found a website called shapeways.com. And Shapeways does 3D printing as well. And what they do is a little bit higher of a level in terms of quality and the way it comes out. It's just different. I don't want to say it's better than MakerBot, but what it does is you're able to make a smooth, nice, clean prototype. And that's actually what I have used on my phone now. That's what is in the video mostly, and they're beautiful prototypes. And frankly, I would sell them like that if they weren't so pricey. I wouldn't make any money off of them.
Makes sense. So for the audience, in case a lot of people actually don't know what MakerBox or Shapeways is, and so there's a phenomenon happening in America where you have something called 3D printing. So think of a printer that would only do copies. A 3D printer is almost like that, except you create objects with it. You could create a case. You could create an actual. I mean, you can almost create anything. There's certain sophisticated 3D printers out there that you can almost create a prototype of just about anything. So a lot of inventors out in the world in the past, the only way that they can create a prototype on a very small batch scale in the past was they had to go to a large factory and have a minimum order of, let's say, 1,000. With a 3D printer, you can have a minimum order of 1 if you wanted to. Is that correct, Michael?
That's correct, yeah. And about anywhere between, depending on what you're printing, it could take 30 minutes. It could take, my phone takes about 5 hours to print the case at high resolution. But it's amazing. And that's something that wasn't possible 5 years ago, maybe, for a reasonable price at least.
Yes, and so for inventors like yourself and inventors who've always had aspirations to create something, you can literally go to one of these stores and they're going to pop up all over the place and actually create a prototype with a batch of 1. So it's really incredible. So I just want to make sure the audience knew that. So Chris and Nolan, tell us a little bit about the type of support that you're helping Michael with. If someone were to come to HeadFunder, what can they expect from you guys and the rest of your team to really help a crowdfunder reach the goals that they're looking for?
Well, one thing that we think is very important is fast customer service. We try to respond within minutes when we can. Our users are allowed to message us directly on the site. So if they're having an issue or they have a question, they can send us a message right then and there. If we see campaigns have potential and we see that the campaign creator is motivated and willing to work hard, we'll definitely step in and give our advice. Try to make connections for them. Try to help them on social media. Try to give them advice and just really try to help them as much as possible, because at the end of the day, we don't charge anything up front or anything. So we're basically on a team with Michael as well as all our other campaign creators where we're only successful as the campaigns are, So it really drives us to work as much as we can with the campaign creators, and also it's a great first-hand experience working with some of the creators such as Michael to kind of see how it is on their side of things versus how it is on our side of things. Because I've never crowdfunded before, I've never done a campaign or anything. So it's really good to team up with them and feel what they feel, see what they see, and help them from their side. And then Nolan answer it if there's anything else he wants to add.
Well, like you said, like if we see that the campaign creator is motivated, like Michael's been the entire time since we've met him, we've been going back and forth, figuring out what's the best way to make this campaign pop. And this day and night, we're thinking, brainstorming how we can help Michael really get his idea out there to the people and spread it as much as possible. And I feel that when people come to HeadFunder, that's what they'll get from us, is our 100% support. We're always here for our campaign creators, our users, our contributors, and that's what we bring to the table.
Absolutely, and the aspect that's also very unique to your platform, and I need to spend some more time too, but it's a social network where you could kind of follow every other campaigner within the HeadFunder community. So technically, you could kind of chat with people and get them as part of your crowd, even if they don't end up contributing, they could still help you promote your campaign potentially if you build that community aspect. So tell us a little bit more about that unique aspect from HeadFunder.
Yeah, right now our users can follow each other. They can send direct messages to each other. They can find other users. They can find users by location, gender, all sorts of different things. We're trying to build HeadFunder more into a social network, basically the social network of crowdfunding. We're coming out with a lot more social features. Hopefully in the next few weeks it'll be all done and integrated into our platform. We've already been working on it, but basically they'll be allowed to have statuses. People will be able to comment on their statuses. So we're taking a lot of different social features from a lot of different big social networks from all over and kind of mushing it into one, which we think will really be helpful to the campaign creators, because eventually if we get such a big network on HeadFunder where there's active users, people are following each other, people are messaging each other, people are having fun, people are making friends, people are posting updates, it'll be a lot easier to get funded because you won't necessarily have to focus all your time marketing Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Google, because if we get a big enough crowdfunding social network, they could get a lot of the funds and meet a lot of the people inside of the network. So,
plus the people will be like-minded as well, because it is a crowdfunding platform. So if you're trying to crowdfund, you want to talk with people that like crowdfunding, and this is a great way for people just to connect in that aspect.
Manolo, I just want to say that actually, with just the last month or so, I've head-funded one campaign. It was a fundraiser for Peyton, right, guys? That's the one in Florida.
yeah.
And I've been funded by other head-funders, and that's all through social within HeadFunder. So it works too. We had a guy from Japan who
yeah, we had to sign up in Japan, and I was talking to him, and then we started talking about the iPatch, and next thing you know, he backed the iPatch. So it's definitely working. It's just we need to get a bigger network, do it on a very mass scale, I think.
Wow. So see, instead of people funding people, headfunders funding headfunders. So this is great. No, you guys got something great going on there. I love it. So let's go back to you, Michael, for a moment. You have an interesting background and interesting history just as an individual. Can you kind of give us a little bit of your background, personally, professionally, because you do have an interesting story as well.
Sure. So I've always worked in television, and I've worked in different aspects of television. Most of it has been in news, television news, but I've also worked in all sorts of different shows, from a morning talk show with a live studio audience called The Morning Show with Mike and Juliet that was on for a couple seasons. I worked at Fox News Channel for about 10 years. I worked for Geraldo Rivera, if anybody knows who he is. I worked for him for several years, and he actually is the reason I'm like engaged to my fiance, is because of Geraldo. Like, we worked together on his show, and then I continued to work at Fox News Channel. I started a program a few years ago called the Junior Reporter Program. It's actually pretty amazing. It's basically a boot camp for up-and-coming recruits, like top reporters, and some of the well-known Fox News correspondents that you see on Fox News Channel, but also the local Fox stations I've trained them and worked with them, and so it's been fun. So I've worked in many aspects of television and television news, but also on the side I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so getting back to some of my other crowdfunding campaigns, one of them, my first crowdfunding campaign, was for a television show that two friends and I produced for a network called the Sportsman Channel, and it was called Hook, Line, and Skillet. It was a fishing cooking show featuring former Army chef Pete Flores, and we kind of started on YouTube. Actually, interestingly enough, we were talking with a group of people there online from a network called Next New Networks, about featuring our show, and I remember thinking, like, I don't really know who these guys are and what they are. Well, they eventually were purchased by YouTube and became a major part of YouTube called YouTube Next Lab. I kind of kicked myself for not taking the bull by the horns with that one. That was my first crowdfunding project. It was successful. I think we raised about $10,000 on Kickstarter for that. We lasted one season. And my second project outside of TV was a friend of mine. He had the idea. It was his vision and his drive and his campaign, but I just kind of helped him with it. It was a thing called mustache tattoos. It was temporary tattoo mustaches that go on your face. It's hilarious. It's a fun gag gift. Successful campaign for like $1,000 on Kickstarter. And then we partnered up to get these things in retail stores around the country, around the world. You can actually buy them now still. We have a little website that's terrible. I'm sure if Chris, you saw it, you would be like, this is the worst website I've ever seen. MustacheTattoos.com, but mustache spelled the European way, M-O-U-S stash.com, mustache tattoos. Anyway, so I've always had a little side projects always. I currently work at The Blades TV. It's a cable television network, but the first that really launched online and has a dedicated subscriber base of 300,000 people, and I produce the news there, where I left Fox to grow a news division here. So that's my long story long, not short.
Very cool.
What was your favorite news thing you ever covered, Michael?
Absolutely, by far. I mean, I hate to say it was my favorite because it was like the worst story I covered, but I was in Haiti following the earthquake in 2010 or 2011, and that was, you know, like a pivotal moment in my career in life because the story was so heavy, and 250,000 people killed or injured, and the whole island is just rubble, and you're walking through really post-apocalyptic hell on earth. And at the same time, some of the most heartwarming and amazing stories of people and just like the human spirit really comes out and stuff like that. So that's one that really touched me. I certainly, as we talk about in the HeadFunder video, the story of the it's the Lower Merion School District in Pennsylvania that gave laptops out to the children, and they basically were spying on the kids at home to check and see if they were doing drugs or anything like that, and they would snap a picture of these kids when they were in their bedrooms off the school-issued laptop. They thought it was okay. There were administration people that thought it was okay. I mean, it became quite a story nationally, and they since have had several lawsuits, and it's still going on. The after effects of that. But I think it's just the first of many things to come in this world. I mean, now the company is giving away iPhones and Blackberries and whatever. You don't own the pictures. If you have a company-issued camera and you go on a company trip or a company-issued phone, and you go on a company-sponsored trip and you take a picture with that camera, it's not your picture. It's owned by the company. So, they may actually have a lot of rights that you don't know about. So, I think it's just kind of one of the issues, the defining issues of our time, is what's ours and what's not ours, and what can people access, and what's right for them to access anymore.
Absolutely.
It seems like anything is fair game. It seems like at least that's how it is. I mean, when we go on these social networks, we're essentially saying that, we're giving you our rights to use the data that's behind the scenes to sell us things that we don't even know we need yet. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy what they're doing with all the marketing.
Right.
That right there is scary in itself. But
and constant tracking too, because you've got GPS now and everything, and websites that are accessing information that you don't know that they're accessing. Certainly more on Android phones than iPhones. But even in an interview just a few weeks ago with Brian Williams, Edward Snowden said that even when your smartphone is turned off, the NSA can access your camera. Now, whether that's true or not, we never really have gotten a definitive answer, nor will we ever. But the fact that Edward Snowden says it, I think most people are likely to believe it now.
So your next invention is an automatic mechanism that takes the battery out of the phone, and then when you wake up, it puts it back in.
Yeah, you can figure out take an iPhone apart in a few seconds, then we'll figure that out together.
Absolutely. Somehow we're going to have to figure that out, because that's the only way we can stop this. We do have our first question. We're going to check this out. Our good friend Frank Spalding from crowdfundme.com, the premier crowdfunding magazine of the industry, he has a question for everyone. He says, and I'll give this to you, Chris and Nolan, have you seen a traffic spike as a result of the Howard Stern interview?
I can check right now.
Well, actually, Michael, while they're checking,
I've heard from a lot of people that I didn't hear. I was telling these guys earlier that people reached out to me on Facebook who I haven't talked to since high school because they heard about the Stern interview, and as a result, I got contributions. So I can tell you by now that the Howard Stern segment has made a lot of had a lot of impact for us.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it would. I mean, I think is he on Sirius? Is that where he's on?
That's correct. Sirius Satellite Radio.
Yeah, so they have millions of.
We also had a nice write-up in Digital Trends last week that got a lot of shares and got a lot of people talking, especially on a holiday week. I think we really pushed hard on the press angle, and during a week when a lot of people were off and not looking at the internet. So what we accomplished last week, I thought was really good.
Yeah, it looks like he's had quite a bit of direct traffic today. That wasn't from any referral source, because you obviously can't click the radio speaker's words. So yeah, it looks like there was probably a good spike in traffic from the show. So, and then I know we got a good amount of backers today. So a lot of people probably did just find out about the iPatch case and probably searching it, going to the website, stuff like that.
Domain directly as well too. So anybody that heard it on the website, on Stern, we said iPatchcase.com, so it took them right to HeadFunder.
Wow, great. So yeah, that's a great strategy too. You just redirected the website traffic directly to HeadFunder. That's what every campaigner should do. And in fact, I almost think some people might even want to create a vanity website for situations just like that, like supportipatch.com, or just create a silly website that makes it easy for people to remember so that they can go to the campaign.
The cost of domains, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I buy domains for like $3. So if you go to ipatch.us, like IEYE or iPatch case, and spelled any way, you're going to come to HeadFunder. I think it's helped. At least when you're talking to somebody that you know and you don't have a phone or something to write down, just say, I'll go to iPatchcase.com.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think it's really difficult for, just like you said, for people who are crowdfunding, to be like, go to headfunder.com/campaign/ and then, the URL. So I think having just an easy, just the name of the product, the website you're already using, just to have it redirect during your campaign, I think that's a very smart strategy, especially when you're talking to people in real life, because you'd be like, just go to this website and then boom, redirect,
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael, I think your next stop, since you have the in with Howard Stern, you should go on America's Got Talent.
Yeah. I don't know what talent I'll do, but we can figure something out. Maybe.
Exactly. Bring Chris and Nolan in, and then I'm sure they'll come up with something interesting. But back to the iPad. So let's flash forward to when you're fully funded, because there's no doubt that it's going to happen. When you're fully funded, have you thought about the future? Like, what is your next step? What are you going to do with that 19,000 or so that you're raising once you get it? Like, what's your step after you raise the money?
So the first thing, as soon as we are close to hitting our goal and we're positive that it's going to happen, I'm going to pull the trigger with our manufacturers to start. We have our engineer, our industrial designer, and manufacturer standing by waiting for me to give the go-ahead. What we're going to do is work on refining the iPatch. It might look slightly different than it actually does now, because we want to make it look as sleek and slim as possible. But that's the first step. Finishing putting the final touches on the iPatch and all that stuff on the case. Then getting it actually into production, which could take, it could take a couple of months or something. What they need to do is they need to produce a mold to make the first one, and that mold will actually end up costing me about $22,000. I'm actually not really getting any money. It's going to cost me money no matter what, which is fine. But this is why we need the help. The mold is going to take some time, and it will cost a lot of money. Once that mold is made, we can then call in an order and have 20,000 iPatches made and shipped to me in like a week or whatever it is. So that's really the next step. As far as our roadmap and down the road, I can also say that we've gotten a lot of interest from potential investors as a result of the HeadFunder campaign, and I don't know which way I want to go with that. I certainly have a business plan laid out. It can go either way. Right now, my immediate focus is obviously on getting HeadFunded.
Absolutely, and you raise a good point that because of the amazing exposure that getting HeadFunded gets you, you are actually getting the courtship from investors, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, you might be able to, even after you raise the money on HeadFunder, someone might come in and say, we really want you to do this, we want you to take you global. I'd love to invest in you. So the fact that that's happening even now, that you're having some level of discussion, is quite the power of crowdfunding in general, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Wherever iPatch goes, it certainly was always the plan to get exposure through crowdfunding. I mean, I think that I could have gone the traditional route of angel investors or whatever, and I think this is the kind of product that you have to show that people want it, and I think that we're doing that, and I think that's, crowdfunding is the only way to really do that. Otherwise, you're spending people's money, and you don't know what's going to happen. So it provides that kind of slow growth and build that a product probably needs in its infancy anyway.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, I'm going to share my screen so we can kind of see for any of the potential people on the show who might want to really see what they would get for a contribution. Let's kind of just look at this project profile and see exactly what's going on. So you have the video. Every project starts with a video. Your guy's goal is 19,000. You have reached 2,600 of that 19, and you have approximately 33 days to go. 55 individual contributors have contributed. And it's looking amazing on the sharing aspect. In total, it's been shared 2,400 times. So kind of share with me, Chris and Nolan, how is it getting shared this much? This is a huge sharing right here.
Well, the way Facebook's API works is every time, let's say you share it right now, Manolis, if somebody likes it, it counts as 2 shares.
Really?
Yeah, and Kickstarter does the same exact thing. For example, if somebody retweets on Twitter, it does the same thing. But we have gotten a lot of shares. We've been pushing it through all our channels nonstop. And we're going to continue to do so. We have to get it. We have to be really loud on social media. If we really want this to pick up and get funded all the way. We need to just continue to share. And we're pretty good at the social media stuff. So. Gotten it a lot of shares pretty fast. So.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely did, and I must say, you guys are doing a great job, because a lot of campaigns that I see, they are really only getting approximately a quarter of this for their whole campaign, and you guys have essentially done it in less than a week that you've been on the campaign trail. So the fact that you guys have been able to have this many shares in this short of time, it's no wonder you're getting the traction you're getting, and you have 33 days left to go. So that's really amazing. I also like here that you have a section that says top head funders. So in a way, you're gamifying the donation process because someone potentially might want to have their name on top to say that I'm the top head funder. So
yeah, and then you can click that person's profile, you know, and follow them if you want to. And so I think we built that because, you know, I think that some of the top head funders, you know, they want to be seen that they're the top head funder, you know, while other people want to be anonymous, you know. So.
You know, there should be a show called America's Next Top Head Funder. But
it will be.
Exactly. And so great. So this is where we get to the rewards. Just like other crowdfunding websites, HeadFunder has similar layout here where you have different reward levels: the 3, the 5, the 20, the 30, the 60, 80, 150, 500, 900, and 2800. Michael, from your perspective, what is the sweet spot? What is the best value for the contribution, in your opinion?
Well, a $20 contribution is like a big win for anybody who doesn't really want to contribute a lot but get something, because the iPatch case is going to retail for about $35. So for $20, you actually get an iPatch case. That's our early bird special. There's like a limited number of them, so people will need to fund now in order to get that. So that's the best value for just the less amount of money. Now, with that said, we have a 4-pack. That's, I think, if you go down there a little bit more, the 4-pack is truly the way to go. You're getting $60, I believe. Am I right with that number?
Yep, yeah, I see it right here. Yep.
$60, you're getting 4. So that's pretty cheap, and you know you get one of each color. And if you have a family, I mean, it's a no-brainer. As you can see, that's 12 head funders. That's like pretty much our most popular. So actually, if you would say what's our sweet spot, that's our sweet spot. That's the way to go. One idea that we're pushing is something called I Want One Now. I think it's fairly unique to our campaign that instead of having to wait traditionally like you would after a crowdfund has hit its goal for that production model to come out, we're actually going to give you, as soon as we hit our goal, a working prototype. So if you want one in 3 weeks, as soon as we hit that goal, we could hit our goal tomorrow, I'm going to make them and they will be shipped to you ASAP. In addition to that, I'll still send out one of the production models. So that's for $80, and that's pretty sweet, and I think that's awesome for anybody that just cannot wait until ideally the fall, which is when we're probably going to deliver. And then one other thing that we have that I think is pretty cool is a 50-pack of $500, and that's for organizations, corporate clients, and nonprofits, anything like that, clubs, people that want to pool together. It's $10 a case. I mean, I live in Manhattan. Anybody that lives in a big city that walks down the street and sees the Joe Schmo selling cell phone cases on the side of the street, you can't get them for $10 from that guy. And those cases stink. And ours is good. And so for $10 a case, that's a good price.
Wow, that's excellent. And yeah, I like this little warning you have here. I don't know if it's clearly seen, but it says, you know, note to intellectual property thieves / jerks, hands off, patent pending. I like that.
That's the Howard clip right there if you want to play it.
Oh, is it
It
long?
might be a little adult language, actually. I don't know how...
Okay, you know, I'm not sure if I have any young children watching my show. You know what? Let's try it, but I just want to see what happens here. 1 second.
Marianne.
Better one.
Too. She wants to try. 100 personal. You know, I talked recently about a problem with his iPad.
You're gonna laugh at me. No, I'm not. I jerk off with my iPad, and I've been reading about how they're using these cameras in the computers to spy on people.
Yeah, I can turn them on from remote.
Well, guess what I do? I put a piece of tape over it when I'm jerking off.
A fan comes up with a possible solution. It's Howard 100 News. You need to know.
Back in March, I couldn't sleep. I was listening to a replay, and a light bulb went off when he was talking about how he put tape over the camera on his iPad, and it made me think there's got to be a case or something out there that can solve that problem. And I did some research, and I couldn't find anything. So I created a solution to that problem, and that's called the iPatch case.
His name is Mike Sorrentino, and his idea that could possibly make him millions of dollars one day all started from the Stern Show. Mike explains to us what exactly his idea is all about and why we need it.
It's a very simple solution to a complex problem, and what it does is a flick of the switch.
Cool. Well, I couldn't finish that because I just got some expert advice from my friend Dennis Deuce. If I don't have the rights to it, I don't think I could play it. Unfortunately. But you could tell that that was you speaking on the actual show. Was that right, Michael?
Yeah, that's right.
That is amazing. The fact that you were actually on the Howard Stern show, not many people can actually do that, you know.
What's next, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. You know, exactly for you. It's like another milestone reached. What else can you do now?
Well, obviously the goal with anything is just how can we reach people that don't know about the product, and I think that's one way. And we're just trying to get the word out. When people hear about this thing, they're so crazy about it. It's such a simple idea. And it's such a simple thing that should be in all phone cases. Yeah. So if we can bring this to the market, we can push it for every phone and every tablet and everything out there. But getting those people to know about the product, that's the first thing. And luckily, we've been very lucky with publicity.
Absolutely, and what's great about the iPatch is, and I'm not sure if you saw this episode of Shark Tank, but there was a guy on Shark Tank who didn't have a case. He had a little clip, like a binder clip, that looked kind of, you know, I guess pretty looking. And all he did was just clip it on the actual camera, but it wasn't a case. It was just a clip that looked awkward on your phone. You've taken it a step further and say, let's build it into the actual case. So that's brilliant. It's too bad that guy didn't think about it, because now he's like, oh crap.
Well, I mean, look, his solution might work really well for laptops and some tablets maybe, and I think there's room for all of us. But our solution is truly an elegant one, and I think it's simple, and it's something that can be incorporated into any case ever built for any device in the future.
I believe so as well. I mean, you have the patent, you have the drive, you have the determination, and you certainly have the network. You're able with Blaze TV and you know, just to go a little off topic, with Blaze TV, are they considering any kind of news related to crowdfunding? And if so, can we get in on that?
I'll certainly pass the word around. As you know, with we have, as we were all talking about earlier, with news, it's actually tough. No matter who you know, it's tough to get a story on, which is a good thing. I mean, there has to be some independent. As you can see, there's actually been no Blaze stories produced about my product, and that I think shows, you know, there's no you know, funny business going on with just pushing our friends' products. Any product or any write-up, a Stern Show, a Digital Trends, anything, people really put it out there because they believed in it and they liked it. Not that the Blaze doesn't, but there's a barrier we don't want to cross. But certainly crowdfunding is something that we've gotten a lot of attention. And I myself have covered a ton of crowd stories. But comparatively to like a lot of other tech news, it's still fairly small, which I think is great. I think with RealityCrowdTV and HeadFunder, I mean, there's so much room in this world to grow. In the tech world, where tech meets kind of marketing meets, you know, retail, there's no choice. We're not going to have a choice to cover the stuff that you guys are covering. We're going to have to, because it's the new way to do business.
Absolutely, and I mean, eventually there will be, you know, the national television show that is about this exclusively, and it's just a matter of time until that happens.
Right.
So Chris and Nolan, we're running we have about 10 minutes left, and so I'd like you guys to kind of just tell us what have you seen as one of the successes within crowdfunding campaigns on your site, and some of the struggles that you see that campaigners are having, not on your site, but just campaigning in general. What are the struggles and what are the misconceptions about crowdfunding in today's world?
That it's easy. I think that's probably the most difficult, or like, I think that's probably the biggest problem in crowdfunding right now, and that's not just on our platform, it's on all platforms, is people will just put up a campaign, no work, no description, no video, with a huge goal, and then they won't really even share it, or even strategize of how they're going to crowdfund their campaign. So I think that is a big problem. But I think slowly we are addressing that, and I think as more and more people crowdfund, see more crowdfunding campaigns, I think it's just kind of a learning lesson for almost everybody in the whole world right now of how to crowdfund, you know. Everybody is slowly learning how to do it better and better, you know. So I think that there's just a huge learning gap between some of the new people and some of the people like Michael, who's experienced, who's done it, you know, multiple times. So I don't think it's necessarily their fault. You know, I think every single person, including people like us who have platforms, people like you, Manolis, I think we can continue to educate the public on how to crowdfund correctly. So that's kind of one of the
Not everybody's a bowl of potato salad.
Right, absolutely, and I completely agree with you, Michael. And you know, I'm not sure if we lost the guys over there. Chris and Nolan, are you still there? We might have lost them, but no.
There they are.
Oh yeah, I see you guys now. Sorry, I just got a little blurry, but it's all good. So no, you guys raised a very excellent point, and you know, I guess that's I just want to throw this out there, kind of just as the way I see crowdfunding. It's not just about the capital. I believe that crowdfunding has the potential to become the biggest educational opportunity that we've seen for self-empowerment in the history, in the most recent history of America. Because think of it this way: you have the millennial generation who's young. They were raised during a time of great economic prosperity, raised by their parents saying, you know, mom, you know, son, daughter, you could do anything you want, you can be anything you want to be. Then comes the recessions, then comes the student loan debt, then comes the corporate environments that are essentially corporate boxes that do not let you think outside of them. And so people have all these ideas, the younger generation has all these ideas, but they're always hit with roadblocks. The way that this is going to change, the crowdfunding movement is giving people the opportunity to actually explore those ideas that they've been too fearful or didn't know how to do in the past, because there was never a mechanism where they could get funded directly from their friends, from their acquaintances, from their crowd. And so I'd like to get your opinion on this, Michael. Do you see a renaissance, almost as if, you know, another renaissance is about to occur where the world is our patron? I mean, if Leonardo da Vinci was alive, he would never have needed the Medici family in today's world. And, you know, like, so what do you think of that? Do you think there's going to be an awakening of entrepreneurship to a level that we haven't seen in years?
I mean, it's already here, you know, but it's definitely going to grow. You're absolutely right. It's a renaissance. People can now take an idea without knowing anything about manufacturing or anything, like me, and bring it to the public and see if there's an interest. And you can, just like any company, start with your friends and family. But once it grows, and iPatch is on that cusp right now where we're making that pivot from friends and family money to now we're getting strangers who've never met me or heard about me, but have just found us on Twitter or on HeadFunder's, social media. But people we don't know who like the product and believe in it are buying it, and that's something that I wouldn't be able to do 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's allowing the small people, the small business owner, the inventor, to have this platform where they can actually invent. It's okay to be creative now. It's like it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be crazy. It's okay to. There is an audience for anything, and that's the beauty of crowdfunding, because you could target that audience and tap into the people that care about a cause or an invention or a product, and that's what's happening all over the world, not just in the U.S., but all over the world.
Right.
Yeah. And so, you guys at HeadFunder must be like jumping in your jeans, you guys must be super excited.
Yeah, I think the future is going to be amazing, and I think people are going to really bring ideas to life that really change the world, and in the next 50 years things are going to be a lot different, and I think crowdfunding is going to contribute to a lot of that. So,
Manolis, I want to make one more quick point, and that's something that we are lucky enough to have, which is the power of publicity. And I'm lucky enough to be engaged to a publicist. Come here, because I just wanted to say hi.
Hi.
So,
hey, how are you?
HeadFunder and anyone out there who's looking to crowdfund, pacepublicrelations.com. This is Annie Scranton, the founder of Pace Public Relations. She got us the Stern Show. She got us Digital Trends. So it's helped a lot, and right place, right time, right? It just so happens that Annie and I are a team, so it's been very obviously a strategic partnership in addition to being a relationship.
That is awesome. Well, you know what? PacePublicRelations.com. Everybody, if you need public relations, you know where to go now. I mean, that is amazing.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. Was it hard? I mean, just give us a little bit of what it takes for PR. How does a campaigner, when they hire you, what do you do for them to get them those type of engagements?
We basically start out by thinking of every single vertical, meaning type of publication, TV, radio, print, web, everybody who could possibly potentially be interested in reading about, learning about, publishing an article, or interviewing the client. So in the case of iPatch, we made a list of people who cover security, people who cover privacy, parenting, because there's obviously a very strong parenting component to it, and then of course all of the blogs and websites that are tech-based or specifically hardware, phone-based. And then we sort of think about what would be the best pitch to entice the editors in each of those verticals. And so when we'll do tailored pitches to the different editors at all of those publications, and then basically we just pound the pavement and just keep emailing and following up and calling and kind of stalking them until we get them to do an interview.
And PR is also like a networking thing. I mean, Annie has, personal relationships with writers and editors at magazines and television, everything too, so that helps.
Wow. So
yeah, I was a producer for 10 years, so I know a ton of people in TV and just journalists in general, and having that personal connection is definitely a huge way in when you're trying to get press for a crowdfunding campaign or any other kind of client.
Wonderful. So that's pacepublicrelations.com, everybody. Make sure you check that out. And in fact, I might be calling you guys too when it's time for RealityCrowdTV to run our crowdfunding campaign. So that's great. Thank you for
thank you so much.
Saying hello.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So we're almost out of time. I'm going to give Michael the last word, but I want to first have HeadFunder give the last word. So Chris and Nolan, your thoughts and just your last word for the evening.
Get iPatch.
Yeah, get the iPatch case. It's awesome. We already got ours. We're waiting. We're anxious. Chris has got tape on his phone right now.
All right.
Peace pumps. We're ready for. Everybody should get patch.
Awesome. That is proof right there that the iPatch is indeed a physical reality. So that is beautiful. So Michael, your last word?
Here, I'll show you my little solution that's a little more elegant.
Nice. There you go. I like that. Yeah.
Get an iPatch case. It's not about buying a cell phone case. When you get an iPatch case at HeadFunder, you're buying into the idea and bringing it to the market. When you get an iPatch case or you buy a set of stickers for $3, you're not buying stickers. What you're doing is you're telling the case makers, the industry, that this is a feature that I want my privacy protected, that I want the camera I carry around all day, every day to have a lens cover so it doesn't get scratched. It's stupid that it's not there. It should be there, and by contributing to iPatch and HeadFunder, you're telling the companies that, and we can make that happen.
Absolutely, Michael. Right on. Gentlemen, I truly am grateful and humbled that you guys would be on my show. Thank you so much. Audience members, thank you as always. Without you, we wouldn't be having this broadcast. We truly appreciate you for coming each and every week. So everyone, thank you, and until next time, dream it, believe it, achieve it. Have a good night.